So it sounds like you guys are, at least right now, advocating to like design a system around the specific editing software you intend on using, right? So you don't just go out and buy a computer that advertises itself as a great video editing machine and then expect to use whatever software you want to on it optimally.
Yeah, I mean, there are similarities between a lot. And I think mostly it's when you get into the higher budgets. If someone only has $1,500 to spend on a system, it's probably going to be pretty much the best you can get, for any application within that budget, because at that level, you're not dealing with CPUs that have 32 cores. You're dealing with ones that have 4, and there's not many choices. So it is really when you get into the typically about $5,000 PCs and above, where it really matters that you are focusing on what is going to actually impact performance. What are you just spending money on that isn't going to get you anything? And also, like, one of the hardest things that we have to deal with is the fact that no one actually uses just one application. They might be a video editor, but they'll be using Premiere Pro and After Effects, and those two applications use the hardware actually really, really, really differently. So it comes down to kind of what is the balance? Like, where do you need the performance? Someone might spend 90% of their time in Premiere Pro, but if 90% of their headache is After Effects, well, you might want to gear a system a little bit more towards After Effects, even though that's not where you spend all of your time.
And the systems that are above $5,000, you're talking about choices that are, the smallest little things, a $500, $1,000 difference in price, right? You're like, I want to go up a little bit step. Oh, that's a bigger step than you are when you're talking about the consumer side of computing versus the enterprise side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of times we have to talk people out of making those steps up in terms of hardware. A great example is, again, CPUs. AMD has some really high-end CPUs called their Threadripper line, and they start at I think the latest models are 24 cores, 32, and then 64 cores. And making that jump up from 24 cores to 32, it's a pricey jump, but it gives you a little bit of performance usually in video editing. So most of the time, it's not really worth it. But then if you actually make that jump from 32 cores to 64, it's like double in price, but it's actually slower because these applications aren't able to utilize all of those extra cores. So you end up spending more money getting worse performance. So at that point, it's like, no, forget that. You're going to spend that money on like faster storage or more storage. You can never have enough storage. So oftentimes, if you have that budget, and you've got like a fixed budget from like your purchasing department or whatever, then you don't spend it on the things that don't matter, and you spend it on the things that will.